It's terrific to have on the Zoom call today on health and wellness, Neave Ross-Wallace. Hey, Neave, how are you?
Yeah, kia ora, good.
Thank you so much for your time today exploring this whole world of mindfulness and meditation.
Yeah.
First of all, Neave, I see a lot of definitions around the world and readings around this thing called wellness. What would be your personal sort of philosophy or take on wellness today?
Well, I think it's fantastic that we're starting to focus about it and talk about it. You know, this move into what does make us well and what can we do. And really, my feeling is that we're all becoming our own mental health worker. So mindfulness is a huge part of the wellness movement. Which is fantastic. I mean, I've been practicing for, I think, 1992 I started. So for me, it's a very much a lifestyle, central in my life, and I just I love that people are taking up mindfulness practice, but all the different ways in which we can care for ourselves. You know, it's like these resources that we're building inside of ourselves, so we don't have to necessarily go and see someone else all the time. We can really check in and know how we can care for ourselves. I think it's fantastic.
And going back to 1992, Neve, what first brought you to this world of mindfulness meditation way back then?
Desperation, which I find is generally often what brings people. So my kids were 2 and 4, and I was like a hyperactive kind of mother. I had no idea how to sit down. I felt like I had a spring in my bum, and every time I sat down, I just got straight back up again. And I was all about doing. So it was like I was trying to create this perfect world for my children where they didn't have to be upset or cry and I was kind of like, I reckon, sort of mad, because I was sort of this hypervigilant, hyperactive person. And I couldn't sleep. You know, I had no idea how to make all the thinking stop or slow down. And I went and listened to the Dalai Lama. I think it was his first time in Christchurch, and he came, and I read an article about him, and I thought, and his talk was how to create world peace. And I was like, wow, I definitely want to go and listen to him talk. And yes, I'm all for world peace, and that's what I want for my children and their future. And his basic message from that talk was, world peace begins with inner peace. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, I felt like this kind of crazy, kind of hyped up
Yeah.
person who really, the messages that were running in the back of my mind was, you've got to keep trying harder, and you're not a good enough person, and you've got to do more, and all of that. And so that was my start. And back then, mostly what you needed to do if you wanted to meditate was join a spiritual community. So I spent many years in a couple of different spiritual communities until I came across the work of John Kabat-Zinn, who has, developed the MBSR, the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program, specifically for us Westerners, and it is, non-religious. So it's like we've got these amazing skills available to us and these amazing teachers in a way that we can take it on and understand and really use in our Western lives. Yeah.
And how would you frame this whole concept, Neve, of mindfulness meditation to an absolute beginner, to somebody who knows nothing? How would you frame that?
It's incredibly hard, to be honest, like how to frame it up, because it's so deep and it's so broad, and it's for every aspect of your life. But of course, we have to try and do that. So it's really an awareness training. So we're training ourselves to notice what is happening in any moment. So it's what's happening around us and how it's impacting on us. And when we notice the impact of our life, we have choice about how we respond. because we are patterned beings, basically, like from childhood. We're born and we have a certain personality, and then we have a certain situation that we grow up in, and we learn ways of being to best kind of survive or be okay in the environments that we find ourselves. And these patterned ways of being work really well for us as kids, but often they don't work that well for us as adults. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. And so with mindfulness, we start to notice how the world's impacting on us and what our tendency, like our inbuilt reactive pattern is. And once we do that, then we have choice, because we can say, oh, look, I'm really fired up about this, or I'm getting ready to run and get out of here, or I'm going to collapse, and because I'm just completely overwhelmed. And as soon as we have that awareness of what's going on, we are bigger than the situation, like that pattern hasn't taken us over completely. And if we're in a mindfulness practice, then we've got a whole lot of skills that we can bring to that moment, so that we don't have to react, and we can calm ourselves down and come from a much wiser place to respond with spontaneity to that situation in front of us. So it's amazing. It's like you come out of all of that patterned way of being into being able to really be with your life in all the moments. So in the challenging moments, you're not completely overwhelmed. You have this capacity to be present, and there's more equanimity and balance and clarity available. And then in the multitude of beautiful moments in your life that you often don't even notice, you're present, and you just, you get all the goodness and the joy and the wonder of just living on this earth. So it's kind of, a really broad kind of range that you can kind of live into further and further. Yeah.
I remember the training we did. You challenged us to go outside and pick something from the garden, and I looked at a leaf, and I thought the cynic in me was like, what? And then I was looking at a leaf for like, what was it, 45 minutes or something? Maybe 60 minutes.
You were out there for a while. Yeah. And how was it looking at the leaf?
It was like, there's just so many layers of thinking, of texture, of just quietening your whole preconception to just it's a leaf. I think I came back in the room and said I could have done that for a day, maybe.
Yeah. Isn't it? I mean, it's amazing that we're alive and on this planet, but we kind of miss so much of the goodness.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the thing that is happening for most of us is there's just this internal chatter going on. The mind is blah 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 blah, and it's taking us into the future. And usually those future thoughts, sometimes they're planning and getting organized for something in the future. But a lot of it is anxiety provoking kind of what if thinking.
Yeah.
And here we are in lockdown. I know what it was like for me when we first, it was announced that we were going into alert level 4. I went into shock for a couple of days. I could just feel that throughout my whole body. And because I knew that was what was happening for me, I could make some really good decisions about what I was actually going to do for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Neave,
I was the same. I had 2 little, I'm calling them WTF moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the first 48 hours, you can't go out, and your whole social norm and construct has been, Jacinda's just put a thumb on it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I had a little bit of shock and disbelief, and sort of climbed my way out of it. So
yeah, and you notice all the things. I noticed all the thinking that went on for me. It's not like people buying all that toilet paper, and nobody knew why people were buying toilet paper. It's just a reactive pattern somewhere.
Yeah.
Once someone started, everyone got on board, and then everyone was buying food because the fear was that we weren't going to survive.
That's right. Yeah. Or I had this wacky vision of, gangs turning up in the middle of the night wanting to empty my freezer. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
completely wacko, but that's
yeah,
when you're losing the thread of anchoring your thoughts into
yeah,
fatalism or the worst possible outcome, Armageddon even.
yeah. And I mean, that's the engagement of the amygdala. So that, region in the brain that is our survival mechanism. And so the thoughts that are produced out of that, when that's engaged, is all about threat and how to survive, and
Yep.
that things going to be really scary and bad, and we often say we get hijacked by the amygdala.
Yep. Yep.
And as you will know, when your thinking's like that, and you can notice that, as soon as you know that you've just been hijacked by that reactive pattern thinking, you're already starting to come out of it.
Speaking of hijacking, I can hear some hijackers outside. I'm just going to shut my door.
Life is good.
My delightful little hijackers. Neave, can I just ask you around? I'm seeing a growing sort of body of evidence around my meditation practices in sort of health neurology, and I can't keep them out of the room. And so the research-based health benefits, and these look really encouraging.
Yeah.
For those that are cynical or skeptical, who might have a scientific mindset.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that, in sense of evidential-based studies that are around for meditation today and the growing body of work in that space?
Yeah. There's a huge amount of research available with regard to mindfulness, and much of the research comes out of the 8-week course that you did, the MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, that was developed by Professor John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in the late 1970s.
Can you hop out? I'm just interviewing lovely Neave. Can you hop out, please? Thanks, darling.
And when he started that program, it was for people who were facing life-threatening illnesses and people that the medical profession couldn't do anything else for. So extreme pain or acute illness. And they started just researching the impact of this 8-week course. And so there's 40 years of research on what's possible if you take up a daily mindfulness practice, especially this 8-week course.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that it shows, because we can do the brain imaging now, is that amygdala, that I call it that reactive patterning region in the brain. We know that through practice, daily practice, that region actually shrinks. So we become less reactive, less afraid, less tendency to jump into all our anxiety kind of thinking. And it actually increases the connections in the prefrontal cortex.
Wow.
So the prefrontal cortex is our wise brain, our executive brain functioning, which is our ability to overview a situation, to understand what's happening for us and for others, to remember what a good thing is to do next. All our higher functions.
Right. And talking to a number of folk over the years who meditate, and some people say, I don't do a good meditation, and I'm not sure I'm doing it right, and quote unquote. What would you say, Neave? What's the sort of hallmarks to your way of thinking around sort of a meditative session, which you feel is, it sort of flowed and worked as well as it could?
Really, a mindfulness practice is being okay with whatever is happening. Yeah. So like, say your kid's coming in and out of the room, it's just okay, and it could be not okay, but it is just okay because that's how it is.
Yeah.
So in a mindfulness practice, you might sit and you might have an idea that you want to focus on your breath and just stay with the sensations of breathing for 15 minutes. and you start doing that, and then your leg starts to ache, and then your mind takes off into the future or the past, and you hardly even remember to notice your breathing, and you come out of that meditation and you go, I can't do this, I'm hopeless, this is no good. Well, actually, all of that is building awareness. And what we want to do is just kind of slow all of that down a bit. And when the body is uncomfortable, if there's an ache in the leg, then we take all of our awareness to the feeling in the leg. And we notice what happens when we start to pay attention. And then we can kind of have a sense of bringing the breath into that area of the body. And what tends to happen is that, the intensity is there, and then the intensity just starts to release. Or you move and find a more comfortable position, but you've been in touch with your experience and you've moved rather than reacting. You've actually just made a healthy response to whatever needs to happen. And the same with our thinking. I mean, we're just noticing how often we are in the future or in the past. And when we sit in meditation, it's like heightened, like my mind has gone off again. And then what meditation is bringing our awareness back to the sensations in the body and breath. And we just do that 100 times in a meditation. It doesn't matter. And one of the main things there is that we don't get upset about the mind wandering. We just notice and come back. And we notice and we come back. Because if you notice and then you get on another whole track of I'm hopeless, I'm useless, I can't do this, why did I try, blah, 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 then you're even further away than you were, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And our mind wandering takes our lives over.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly myself coaching, I've had clients over the years who've got the mind racing in the night, and their sleep's interrupted, and they're going to the workplace at 3 a.m. and that sort of mind racing tendency and habit. It's quite destructive, huh?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And it steals our life from us. And it steals our energy and our aliveness. And when I think about what I used to be like, I was just caught up in a complete world of thought. And then how life is for me now, which is more present and able to respond to what's in front of me. And then when my mind starts to come in and take me over, I can notice that. And I've got these skills, these mindfulness resources to bring myself back and just quieten all that down. And one of the things we know is that when the mind is really rolling and we're, mind wandering into the future or the past, that actually engages the sympathetic nervous system, which is our gearing up system. And we want that system to be geared up when we're on, but when we don't need it to be on, we need the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and repair system, to be functioning. And that's repair at the cellular level. And for that to be happening, we just have to be present, and we have to let that system switch on. Well, if the mind is going and going and going and going, that system doesn't switch on. And that's often why we feel exhausted even after we've been asleep. We haven't actually come into that rest and repair.
What would you say to the current time in the globe with the coronavirus crises around the world, and the sense of what we might have social isolation, which is unusual, at least for Western culture, and the growing role of meditative practice in therapy, and distilling that sense of self-knowledge and connection with self. And maybe, do you think this could be a lesson from wherever for us all to seek true and meaningful connection with ourselves and our families, in lieu of perhaps Facebook and all these digital things that have popped up in the last 10, 20 years?
Yeah, well, who knows? Fingers crossed. Often it's when people get pushed to the wall that they ask themselves, what can I do? There's got to be a better way. There's got to be something else better than this. And often you know, when we are stressed or when we can't cope with the experience of our life in the moment, or the emotions or thoughts that are going on inside of us, we jump to something. So, you know, it might be alcohol, or it might be Netflix, or, you know, whatever that thing is. And then we start to notice whether that really works for us or not. and
It's,
then and
hmm,
then if it doesn't, we realize it's not really really making us feel that much better.
yeah.
Then we look for something else.
It's funny you should say alcohol. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but I did notice a pattern in lockdown of I was looking forward to a drink
Yes.
at, between 4 and 5 p.m. and I might have one or two, and then I do stop.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
my ones can be quite large, and
Yeah.
I know, Neve, it's not healthy. I know it doesn't serve. It's not going to
Yeah.
take me forward. It's numbing and escapism. But I
Yeah.
did kind of notice that pattern, so I've challenged
Yeah.
myself to not have even one drink for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And you did that because you became aware. You know, you have to be aware that, first of all, that you're doing it, and then the impact that it's having on you, and then, you know, what else you could do instead. So for me, everything you describe is a mindfulness practice. It's like you'll be checking out to notice how it feels in the body, and, you know, how it feels in the mind.
yeah. Even I think the behavior and perception of reality, if you have alcohol, it just transforms that inner. And I find, you know, there's a growing darkness with alcohol, generally speaking. And um, yeah,
But
can I just ask you now, with the mindfulness meditation compared to other genres or philosophies of meditation, how does it differ from perhaps traditional Zen or other forms of meditative practice?
yeah, well, mindfulness is a specific type of meditation in which we are noticing certain things that are occurring in any moment. And there's three sort of areas that we specifically focus into. So we would say they are gateways into the present moment. So we can be aware of sensation, so sensations in the body, and then whatever we're taking in through the senses. So we wake up to the present moment by noticing how the body feels, or what we can taste or see or hear, touch, feel. And then we also are training ourselves to become more aware of our thoughts. So, what am I thinking? And do I want to be thinking this? Because in a lot of moments, the mind takes us over, and the mind is running us and running our behavior. And once we start to notice that, again, we have choice. Will I stay with this thinking at 3 a.m. in the morning when I'd rather be sleeping? Yeah. Or do I say, no, I'm going to actually use my mindfulness practice here to stop that, and not feed that thinking? And then we also have our emotions, so we can notice what is our emotional response, how are we feeling, what's the sensation, the feeling of emotion, because our emotion is telling us really what is happening for us in any moment, or where we're sitting in our lives in any moment. And again, that can lead us into understanding what's happening and then making choices rather than just being overwhelmed. And what happens for most of us is that all of that, like the sensation, the thoughts and emotions, are like a big bundle. And we're just kind of rolling around in this bundle that doesn't feel good. And that's when we turn Netflix on or reach for our second glass of wine. And we don't even really know why we're doing it. But in a mindfulness practice, you start to train yourself to notice all of that, and you start to become bigger than your experience. So you're watching the experience, and from that place, you're no longer overwhelmed. You are able to see and choose. Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
Doing a bit of study back to university, Neve. I'm studying psychology and counseling right now.
Oh,
And when they had the list of therapy approaches therapeutic approaches in the counseling field, I noticed the meditation wasn't there. So I'm just wondering, can you bring in mindfulness meditation into a program of therapeutic practice? Say if you're
Oh, absolutely.
say if you're
Yeah,
having psychotherapy or
yeah,
CBT, can you sort of canister in mindfulness to bolster that therapy?
absolutely.
Mm.
You would actually find that most therapists are bringing mindfulness practice into their clinics, which is fantastic. I mean, I worked for 12 years as a Gestalt psychotherapist, and Gestalt is a mindfulness-based psychotherapy.
Yep.
And so, way back in the mid-90s, I was already teaching mindfulness without knowing that it could be called mindfulness. And so, I think a lot of therapists now are doing that, which is fabulous. And in saying that, we, for our 8-week program, we actually get a lot of people who are coming in who are in therapy and who want to get these skills to help with their healing and growth that they're doing. And in my experience, I would say the 8-week course, because of how it leads us through and gives us this amazing overview of what a mindfulness practice is and how we can live in this way. I've thought about this quite a lot. I reckon it's about 2 years worth of therapy in 8 weeks. When I see what someone's like when they arrive and what they're like at the end of those 8 weeks, it's a phenomenal change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just back to the university quote, I was stunned by the level and quantity of therapeutic approaches. I had no idea, and across the genre of psychotherapy, CBT, and the sort of waves of human development in thinking and science in psychology and therapy.
Yeah.
Um, just with your partner there, Betsy Haley at Mindwise, Neave, what would you say to viewers? What's the essence of your approach to Mindwise with regards to practice and to spread the whole message of mindfulness to the community and beyond? What's your sort of essence of your approach there?
Well, we really both come from our own growth, like what it's done for us in our lives, and how distressed we've been at times, and how now we have this amazing toolbox, if you like, to be with anything that happens in our lives with much more clarity, much more kindness to ourselves, less judgment. It's a softer, kinder way of being, that enables you to meet life with more fullness. It's just huge. It's just huge.
Amazing.
I don't even like to think about where I would be if I hadn't come to any of this.
Yeah.
And also, we're very committed to our 8-week program, because we know that it's got the research sitting in behind it, that it really, really works. And we also have a 4-week program, which is like a dip your toe in. That's for like someone who says, well, I might want to just give it a go. And we know in those 4 weeks, people start to feel the benefits.
Yeah.
And then I'm just about to kick off a monthly Mindful Me community hour and a half, where we'll get together on Zoom. And that's for anyone who doesn't know anything about mindfulness, right through to someone who's done a lot of practice. Just a way of us to get together and chat and practice.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you have
Yeah.
any insights or tips for someone who perhaps has done your course, but they're not quite a habitual, they're not into habitual daily practice?
Yeah. Well,
You have,
as we like to say, everyone falls off the horse and you just get back on again. And the main thing is not to beat yourself up.
mm, mm,
This really is about non-judgmental. So you notice that you haven't been practicing for however long, it could be a week, could be a month, it could be a year, it doesn't matter. You just notice and you think, yeah, I think I'll go back to it. And you sit again, and the mind takes you a million miles away, and you don't get upset, and you're non-judgmental again and kind to yourself, and you go, oh yeah, crazy mind today, and I'm back again. the daily practice we know is what rewires the mind and body. So, as I said, often it's desperation for people that brings them to it. Maybe don't wait that long. Maybe come earlier, and yeah, find a way just to make a start. And I don't know. I mean, is this true for you? Do you remember what it was like when you were practicing every day, and how you felt and
Mm.
how life felt? And then you notice how it is when you're not practicing, and is there a difference?
Yeah, it's a bit like a magnet. The Western connected, busy pings, badges, the whole noise. It's kind of like a force field, eh? And it's sort of you can puncture it temporarily, and then I found myself you kind of get
Yeah, yeah,
sucked back into the busyness and the connectivity, and it's that sense of discipline to realize the beauty and the power and the awe of mindfulness, and hanging on to that image and feeling that, if you practice say 30 minutes a day, you're just
yeah,
going to feel more alive.
yeah,
So I think for me personally, it's just having that sense of discipline and routine, and holding on to the amazement of the experience.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And noticing what it's like when you're not practicing, then
Yeah.
just going back to practice. And what tends to happen is we practice and we feel great, so we don't think we need to do it anymore, and then it sort of dwindles until we realize, I'm actually really reactive and I'm not feeling that good, so I think I'll go back to my practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I was just I had another interview prior to this one, and I was actually being the interviewee, and we talked about self-awareness, and that just never ends, this whole continuum of knowledge of self. And
yeah,
I think it was Carl Jung said that you can always learn from any and every interaction with another person as to how you are as a human, and your behavior and your habits. So
yeah,
I do think mindfulness can bring that sense of self-actualization and awareness up. uh,
absolutely. Yeah, and
uh,
the beauty of the practice is it's like it's the how to do that.
mm,
Um, yeah, quite intentional and quite specific.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, building of that capacity to notice what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah,
And just slowing down, and as you say, taking stock. And I remember in our course you said, when you're eating, are you shoveling it in for the biological necessity, or are you savoring every morsel of this privileged, beautiful food?
yes,
And yeah, that's right. Who's thinking about what they're eating, and the privilege and the joy within food, because it's a great human joy.
isn't
Uh,
it? Yeah,
but you open my mind up to think about, true living and satisfaction in even a simple thing as eating.
yeah, yeah. Satisfaction,
Yeah,
it's like getting all the goodness, the juice out of life.
yeah,
And it's ordinary life that's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess for my personal, walk. Yeah, I didn't know you could walk and meditate. That was a new one for me.
Mm,
And even momentary meditation, even it's just 1 or 2 minutes, is
yeah.
just going to that place of awareness
Yeah.
is incredible. In fact, the last time I meditated, Neve, I'll admit, I was in the spa pool downstairs.
Sounds good.
And my young children had left, and I just shut my eyes, and it must have been 3 or 4 minutes, and I just, woo,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Lovely.
yeah.
Yay.
Do you think beyond the going back to the COVID crisis now, and the sort of environment and world of transformation, because we're transforming now, aren't we? The whole world's going through this massive shift.
Yep.
Have you got a vision, perhaps, or how you potentially could see the world differently when we come out of this in the Western world or throughout the world?
I think it's just a great opportunity for us,
Mm,
a great opportunity. And what I'm hearing people talk about is how they have noticed how, a lot of parents I've talked with are saying how much they are enjoying being with their children, because there's not all this busyness going on all the time. So
mm,
they're actually loving their family life in a way that they maybe haven't at that depth for quite some time. And then, you know, there's more creativity arising. So people are doing things that they have been putting off because we've all been going outside and out all the time to do all this stuff. And then suddenly we just in our environment, oh, like, well, what do I want to do in my environment? And, you know, and then we get creative. So something else is released in us.
Yeah.
And then we notice like how interconnected we are. And then this feeling that the whole world is self-isolating. I mean, that's quite an amazing thing. All of us on this planet, all together, we're self-isolating. So you can kind of feel everyone, you know, like we're all doing this to take care of ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
I've done things I've spoken to people I haven't spoken to for years. I've
Mm,
done things with my children I've never done.
yeah,
It's a great opportunity, as you say, to do things with your family or with your partner.
yeah,
You don't get to because of the busy, connected world that we tend to inhabit.
yeah. And all of us doing all the time. And I think we've all, you know, got these moments where we're much more present. We're more in this being mode. And really that's the purpose of a mindfulness practice, is
Mm.
to bring us into being.
Yeah. And Neave, what would you say is your link with the meditative practice and spirituality? How would you create that link or unison between, you know, being a professional teacher in mindfulness and spirituality? How do you see that?
Ah, well, I think the beauty of mindfulness practice is that you don't have to have any kind of feel for spirituality at all. So this is a practice that's incredibly useful for someone who doesn't want to know anything about a spiritual world or life. My spiritual practice is deep in my life. It's the central part of my life. So for me, my mindfulness practice is absolutely my spiritual practice. But, you know, I love that there's the freedom in a mindfulness practice for it to have nothing to do with spirituality, if that's what you wish for. That's what I love about it. To me, it's incredibly free, a good, solid, everyday practice for anyone, no matter what their beliefs. And then if you are in a spiritual practice, it's a beautiful practice to take into your spirituality. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Now we're going to do a wee meditation, are we not, Neve?
Yes, let's. Okay, shall I lead us for a few minutes? Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Well, so wherever you're sitting, just noticing for a moment how you are sitting, and you might like to close your eyes or soften your gaze and just look down in front of you. And this is really just allowing us to bring our awareness from the outside world to our inner world. So starting to notice what it feels like to sit on the chair. So perhaps taking all of your awareness down to your feet for a moment and feeling the sensations in your feet. So you might be able to feel the sensations of pressure where your feet rest more heavily on the floor. And you might be able to feel the fit of your shoes or your socks or your slippers or air on your skin. Just seeing if you can locate the sensations in your feet. And then giving a little bit more of the weight of your feet to the floor. So you might even have a sense of the feet spreading out a bit on the floor. And then allowing your awareness to come up your legs and see if you can let the legs rest heavy. So giving all of the weight of your legs to the chair and the floor. And again, you might feel a softening or an opening in the body as there's a little bit of tension released. Like often we hold tension in the body that doesn't really need to be there. And then allowing the rest of your body to sit heavy in the chair. So giving more of the weight of your body to the chair. So in this moment, the chair is holding you and you don't have to hold your body. So allowing the body to soften and taking full advantage of the chair that you sit in, giving the weight of your body to the chair and the weight of your legs and your feet to the floor. And then bringing your awareness to your shoulders and your arms and your hands. And just letting the shoulders, arms, and hands rest heavy. So you might feel a letting go or a softening in the arms and hands and shoulders. Again, it can often be a place of tension that we hold. So we can just let the body relax and settle. And then shifting your awareness to your face. And just letting the face soften. So letting the forehead soften. And the eyes. Cheeks. And the mouth. And the jaw. We often hold tension in the jaw. We have a sense of unhooking the jaw. Just letting the whole face soften. And giving the weight of your body to the chair. Feel what it's like to be held by the chair and held by the floor and ultimately held by the earth itself. And then just shifting your awareness now to noticing your breath. And just notice the flow of your breath. And as we do this, you might just like to take a moment just to check in with your abdomen, with the belly, because often we hold the belly tight. So we can just let the belly release and relax. And then as you breathe in, breathing in through the nose and feeling the chest expand on the in-breath. And then as you breathe out, giving more of your weight to the chair and feeling the chest fall, soften. So feeling the breath coming in through the nose and expanding the chest and perhaps the back of the body. And then as you breathe out, feeling the body soften and settle. So breathing in and feeling the sensations of the air as it comes in through the nose and down through the throat and expands the chest and back of the body, perhaps even the belly. And then as you breathe out, feeling the change of sensation, feeling the softening, the letting go. And as you do this, you might feel the sensations of your ribs moving. You might even feel the rise and fall of your shoulders. Letting the arms hang heavy. So as you breathe in, feeling the breath coming in through the nose, it's like a tingling as it comes in, down through the throat, expanding the chest and the back of the body, right down to the belly. And as you breathe out, feeling the letting go, the letting be. And just knowing that in this moment, there's nothing you need to think about. There's nothing that you need to do. In this moment, you get to be completely present, noticing the flow of the breath and how the breath feels in the body. So fully experiencing the sensations of breathing. And if thoughts pop up, it's never a problem, doesn't matter. We just come back to the breath. So join your awareness to the breath again, wherever it is, on an in-breath or an out-breath. And you're back into this present moment. Feeling the body expand as you breathe in and soften and release as you breathe out. And just living your life one breath at a time. And then as we come to a finish, just wriggling your toes, feeling the sensations in your toes and in your feet, and wriggling your fingers, and then opening your eyes if they were closed.
Woo! I want more of that.
Yeah, that's good, eh? What did you notice?
Just gravity.
Yeah. Yeah.
My heart rate lowered. Just empty space.
Yeah.
No real thoughts, Neave. Just
Yeah.
listening to your words and following your words, and yeah,
Yeah.
really, really powerful.
And you can kind of feel the rejuvenation in the body, eh? Like it's at the cellular level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember on the course you said to me, this is quite pivotal, and it was wisdom in silence, or was it gaining knowledge in silence? And that's a counter to our busy connected Western brains of knowledge, but that was like, just looked at a leaf for 60 minutes. You can build wisdom in nothingness, which
Yeah. 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 And we know, like, from this place of coming into full presence or full being, that actually the creative ideas that arise from that place are often amazing ideas
yeah,
that we can't come to in our normal way of thinking. It's like there's an intelligence or a knowledge that we can access from that place, eh? And that we can realize when you can look at a leaf and it kind of opens the whole world up for you, because you've become present.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit like a computer. A computer's got a huge memory capacity, but it only, the old RAM, it's got a little bit of RAM at the top. But when in everyday life, we're just, maybe in the Western world, where we're busyness in this little RAM chip, where we've got this awe-inspiring depth of our souls and our subconsciousness that we're sort of living on, 2%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a huge amount available to us. We
Incredible.
just have to become present. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
well, thank you for shifting me through that, Neave. That was cool. I'm going to
Absolutely my pleasure. Yeah.
put a lock on the door now.
Cool.
So, Neave, where can those viewing this interview, where can they connect with you? How can they connect with you and Betsy?
Yep, come on to our website, mindwise.co.nz, all one word. And we have a monthly newsletter. We're just about to pop one out, and that's got all our offerings. And we're building a beautiful community of practitioners. It's come on along and give it a go and see what you reckon. Yeah.
I'm there. And
Yeah.
the Zoom mode with COVID, how is that?
Yeah, it's working really well, because we just had a retreat day on the 8-week course, and so we had 2 more sessions left when we went into lockdown. So we took it on to Zoom, and because we have no more than 16 people in that course, it's a very relational course that worked really well. and then we've got our 4-week mindfulness for beginners course, and we were already running that online via Zoom, and so that's a lovely way to start a mindfulness practice and start feeling the benefits. So they work really well. Yeah, it's not, I mean, nothing's the same as being in the room, but it just makes it really accessible. And because I do a lot of work with parents as well, it's kind of good for parents because they can, generally speaking, get their kids to bed by 7:30 and then be online. And yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your grace today. I really appreciate that. And let's catch up soon. Catch up on the other side of this COVID craziness.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thanks so much, Neave.
See ya.
Bye for now.